Shabbos, everybody, get Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Let's open up in our Siddurim. Check Judah's noodling, so let's noodle together. On page 6, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Yasharem, Malachi Elu, Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I woke up this morning to my son, my youngest son, asking me, Abba, what's with Elijah the prophet? He said to me. He said, what's with Elijah? Who is Elijah? And we looked at Kings 1, at the end of Kings 1, and into Kings 2, Malachim Aleph, Malachim Bet. We looked at this life of Elijah the prophet. And it's kind of a God-intoxicated prophet, Eliyahu. It's like his whole name is names of God, like Eliyahu. Just, he's on fire for God. He's a zealot, and some of the things maybe not so great. But from the moment in the beginning of chapter 2 of the book of Kings that he ascends to heaven on a fiery chariot, and his disciple Elisha is standing there looking and saying, Avi, Avi, Father, Father, Rechev Yisraelu Farshav, chariot of Israel. V'lo ra'o, he didn't see him again, says the book of Kings. Elisha never saw Eliyahu again. But because Eliyahu goes up in this fiery chariot, like he lives forever. And in the lore and the legends of the tradition, Elijah becomes, along with a number of other individuals in the Tanakh, someone who never dies. And when he comes back, if you look at the literature, whenever Elijah comes back, in the Talmud or in the tradition, it says that Elijah comes to visit at a bris milah, at circumcision. He comes, obviously, on Passover evening. We have a cup and a placeholder for him. He's always al pitcha. He's always at the entrance to the space. He's always standing at the doorway. And there's something profound about Elijah's presence and doorways in places of liminality, of spaces that are in between, a moment of transition. There's a story in the Talmud, one of the most famous stories in the Talmud, one of my favorite stories, is about Shimon Bar Yochai, this rabbi, Simeon, the son of Yochai, who during the revolt the Roman revolt, he and his son Elazar decided that they had to run away from the Romans. There was kind of a death warrant out for them, and so they went and hid in a cave. And the story in the Talmud says that he and his son, they kind of lived in the cave, and miraculously a carob tree grew in the cave. And then there was a river of water. There was a little thing of water. And he was there for 12 years. And when he comes out of the cave, he only comes out because Elijah the prophet comes and stands at the doorway and says, it's time to leave. And then Elijah appears at another moment, after they've already left the cave, and they judge the people who are running around, busying themselves with kind of the mundane, and a heavenly voice comes out and sends them back into the cave for one more year. They're not yet cooked, and so they come back into the cave, and at the end of that 13th year, they come out of the cave, and they see an old man running, and he's got 2 myrtle branches, and he's running. And they say, what are you running for? He says, I'm running because I'm holding hadassim, I'm holding these 2 myrtle branches. And at that moment, Elijah the prophet appears in the story and tells them that it's time for them, now that they've seen the energy of Shabbat, the energy of leaving, the energy of lifting up the world, it's time for them to go out and participate in the building of the world. On page 8, Higalin, as we enter Shabbat with an eye towards the openings and the doors and the invitations to participate in life. Higalin na.
Hikale, gale, gale, na.
Shabbos, everybody. Nice, right? Nice Shabbos. Shabbos. Nice. Daughter of Shin. Remember that teaching from the early medieval Kabbalistic work about Shabbat? That Shabbat, the word Shin Bet Taf, Shabbat is daughter, Bat Shin, the daughter of silence, Shekhinah. And Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach is like double. We're not even supposed to do that much on Shabbat because Pesach is here, but we can't help ourselves on page 24 singing to the Shekhinah, to the divine. And not just the divine out there, the divine in here. The inherent, the in here divine, the Shekhinah that rests at the end of every exhale when will has been exhausted and breath is on its way out and all of our efforts have been exhausted and the breath keeps releasing until it pauses to wait for creation to start again. Shabbat is that very end of the exhale, when all of our work is done, and we spend it together with the Holy One. reading from the Kedushas Levi from the Berditchever Rebbe, who asked a really good question. He says, in the Torah, whenever you come to discuss the holiday of Pesach, it doesn't say the word Pesach in naming the holiday. If you look at the Torah, in its listing of all the holidays, it calls Pesach Chag HaMatzot. Throughout the Torah, we don't see what we now call Pesach with that name, Pesach. It's called Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzah. But once we shift into the oral tradition in the Torah Sheb'al Peh, from the Mishnah and the Midrash and the Talmud, all of the rabbinic literature, you don't see it called Pesach, you don't see it called Chag HaMatzot, you see it being called Chag HaPesach. And so the Berditchever asked, why in the Torah does it call this holiday Chag HaMatzot, and in our literature, the literature of the rabbis, it's called Pesach? He said something very beautiful. He said, when God talks about the miracle of Passover, he focuses on us, that we were willing to leave quickly. Matzah represents that willingness to go with nothing and just leave and be free and to have faith. So when God, in God's own Torah, God wrote about us, look at them. The holiday should really be about them and how faithful they were. And then when we came to write the Mishnah and the Talmud, we started talking about how miraculous God was. God jumped over the houses, and we called it after God's activity. And the Berditchever said, this is the way it should be in relationships. We should constantly be thinking about the other person, saying, how great you are. And they say, no. How great are you? So here it is on Shabbos, Liturgical. We're personifying Shabbat. It's all about you, Shabbat. Not about us who keep Shabbat, but it's about you, Shabbat. We're so happy to see you each and every week. On page 24, the Chadodi. Chavadodi nikras Kabbalat enei Shabbat nekarat Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Yishmi'ah Hamiuchad Adonai Echad Ushmo Echad Hashem Tiferet Beleknak Echad Adonai Niknas Kala B'nei Shachavot Ikrat Shabbat Lechum v'neilcha Hihi mekor ha'bracha Merosh Iketer nesucha Maseh v'machshava tchila Lechanadot Niknas Kala B'nei Shachavot Negeyat Mikdash Melech Mitochas Rav Lasher V'inekam Balcha V'hu Yachmol Alayichem La Chavadot Nikras Kabbalat B'nei Shabbat Hitnari me'afar kumi תפארתך עמי על יד בני שי בית הלחמי קורבה אל נפשי לכבד דודי ניקנה Come on, guys. Shir da, Kivod Adonai Alai. Alechama, Ekamim, Chas Kamayallah. Nei Shabbos, Nekavela. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. Oicha Shabbat HaMalka Ein 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 lecha dodi Ein ein likras Kalala Ein ein benei Shabbos Benei Shabbos Please remain standing as we turn to face Yerushalayim and find Psalm of Shabbat on page 27 and 28. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbos. Tov Lados Adonai Lezamer L'Shimcha Elyon Lagi Baboker Chasdech V'emunascha V'aleilos Alei Asor V'lei Navi Alari Gayon V'chinor Yisimachtaну Adonai V'folech V'asedech Arnani Makonus Tamadika Tamagifrach Kenes Balvanoni Yeskech Shesulim Beis Adonai V'chatzos Eloheinu Yafrichu Onienu Van Mitzvah Van Yishenim V'Ananim Yiyu Le'agiti Yashar Adonai Tzuri V'lav L'Asabo Adonai Malakeu Slavesh on page 29. Ozita Zayah Tikun Teva Bati Manachon Kisacham Yaz Me'olam Atanu Sunarot Adonai Nosunot Kokum Yesunarot Dachian Nikolas Maim Rabim Adirim Kolos Magim Mayim Rabim Adirim Mishperei Yam Adir Bamarum Adonai Edotecha Nem Nevetzan HaKodesh Adonai Le'odeh Yamim Wade in the water Wade in the water Children wade in the water Oh, God's gonna trouble the waters. We pray for healing at this moment on page 30 in the middle of the page. And as we're standing here, we bring to mind those in our community who are in need of healing. As we say the words that have already been sung traditionally in the beginning of the service from Yedid Nefesh, Ana Elna Rifana La. Mana Elna Rifana Behadosna Noam Ziva Stitrazek Mesis Rabei Mechasa Simechasonam Anna Elnam Nefan Mechadosna Amziva Sis Chazek Mesis Rabei V'haisa Simechas מי שברך אבותינו ואמותינו יברך וירפא את כל החולים ובוא שאנו מתפללים בעבורם בזכר זה הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם לחננם עליהם ישלח להם מהר רפואה שלמה מן השמיים שבת מזוח גופו קרוב לבוא השתה ועגלה ומזמן קריב ונאמר Amen. Let's have a seat, everyone. A couple of very brief announcements this evening. In your newsletter that is in your Siddur, just to bring attention to all of the wonderful programs that are on the back and the front and the back. Devotion with Renee Finkelstein, Psalms with Rabbi Brielle, Kabbalat Cafe with me, yours truly. Lag BaOmer gathering, already thinking 32 days from tonight at the JCC. Take a look at that as well. And my podcast, lots of good stuff for your nourishment here in the community. Hope people had good Seders. Anybody have something really interesting happen at a Seder? Yeah, interesting Seders? Just like, I went around the room last night at the Y and I asked if there were any interesting stories for people to tell and share. And one woman stood up and said she had once been at a Seder and a 10-year-old had placed the matzah for the afikomen, like instead of hiding it, he hid it in his pants. And that became the joke of the night. So, we didn't hide it in their pants. But anybody have anything, nothing too crazy? We know our brothers and sisters and cousins were running in and out of bomb shelters on the first night. So, relatively speaking, we had probably a very kind of relaxed Seder, I'm sure. If you're here for the first time, we're so happy to welcome you here. In a moment, we're actually going to stand up and introduce ourselves to one another, and then we'll come back in for the Baruch Hu, the communal call to prayer for evening prayers. And at that moment, I'll ask you, if you're here for the first time, just to raise your hand and we can all turn and say hello to you. Everybody, please rise up and say hello to one another, wish each other good Shabbos, move across the room, say hi, good Shabbos.
I can hear my guitar and very little else. I can hear you because you're loud. So I'm like, yeah. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I pioneered that. I play mandolin and bass here normally, but on the days when no one else is playing guitar, they have me do this. Thank you.
I think so.
Right? That's Shabbat something? I was like, wait, which one is that?
His guitar is a little murky.
Okay.
I don't know what you can do about that.
I'll see that.
Okay. I hope I'm in time with you.
Judah. Yeah, here we go. Anybody here for the first time? First timers? Okay. Nice to see you. No, let's stay standing. Stand. Standing. We're all standing. It's good. So if you're here for the first time, we welcome you. Please stand, everybody, the whole community. Let's all stand together. No, let's all stand. We're on page 31 for the Baruch Hu. I know it's different. It's like Manishtana Laila Zeh. What's going on? What's going on? A little different. They'll throw something different in. So we're not actually going to call out individuals and ask them to introduce themselves tonight. I know, it's amazing. I've been wanting to stop doing that for years. Tonight's the night. We're going to stop. But what we are going to do is, instead of them standing up and introducing themselves, those who are not new will introduce yourselves to those who are new. Make it your business by the end of the night to say hello to somebody. Don't wait for them to stand up and have to out themselves as first-timers. You're going to say hello to somebody who's a first-timer by the end of the night. So keep it in your mind. Keep it in your mind. I saw somebody to the corner of my eye. That person over there is a first-timer. These guys are first-timers. And so you have work to do at the end, not for me. It's not for me to welcome them. It's for the members of the community to welcome them. So we're going to do that from now on. Get used to it. So keep standing. We're on page 31, page 32 for the Baruch Hu. You may be seated. We continue on page 34. Berukhat Shechina Mariva Aravim Avat Olam on page 36. Beit Yisrael Amachavta Torah Mitzvot Chukim Mishpatim Otani Matam Kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu v'kumeinu naseh b'chukecha v'nizmah b'divei sorasecha v'nei sorasecha li'olam v'en Kein chayenu yodech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla v'yavascha al tasir mimenu yolamim baruch ata Adonai Ohei v'amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael
Adonai
Eloheinu On page 39 and 40, V'yohavta
את אדוני אלוהיך
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך
ובכל מאודך
והיו הדברים האלה
אשר אנוכי מצווך
היום על לבביך
ושיננתם לבניך
ודיברת בם בשבתך
בביתך ובלכתך בדרך
ובשרתך ובקומך וקשרת מעוז על ידך
והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך
וכספתם
המזוזות
ובשעריך והיה, page 41 אם שמעת ישמעו מצוות אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם היום לאהבה את אדוני לכם ולעבדו בכל לבבכם ולנפשכם נתתי בדרך מלך וכף אדוני בכם יצר את השמיים לא יאמרת וידם על עשיני סבולה ועבדתם נרם יצר למען ירבי מכם וימי בניכם על הדבר שיש באדוני לבוסיכם לעשייס להם כימי השמיים על הארץ on page 43 the third paragraph of the Shema ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם יעשו להם ציצית על כאן ויביאם לדורוסם ונושאנו על ציציס הכנף בציר תחילס יעלכם וריסם עושו ודחייתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם עושם ולא ססורו
אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם
אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצותי
הייתם קדושים עליכם
אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים
להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני
אדוני אלוהיכם אמס שם נפשנו בחיים ולא נשם למות רגלינו המדריכינו בבוא סביבנו וירם קרנינו על כל שונאינו אלא עושה לנו נקמה בפרעה ועושו סביב עושימו ועבס בניחם המכה בעבר עשו כל בחרי מצרים יעשה יסס המעביר בנו בין גזרי ים סוף אסרו לכם יסוניהם בסמוס תיבה ובנים on page 48 at the top of the page הסכימו רצו שמלכו ביעדו לשמו ומלכוסו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ונעשה לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם
מי כמוך
מי כמוך
האלים אדוני
האלים אדוני
מי כמוך
מי כמוך
נדר בקודש
נדר בקודש יד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני Ashkivenu on page 49, 50. Lay us down in peace, author of the stars. Raise us up to life, ground of our being. Spread over all of us the sukkah, the shelter of your peace. Give us counsel, help us repair our lives. Rescue us so we may live your name in us, defend us. Keep the night terrors away, hatred, violence, hunger, disease, keep the demons away. Fears for our past, our future. Hold us in the shadow of your wings, our guardian, our protector, our gracious and merciful. Guard our comings and our goings for your life's sake. Fros aleinu, sukkah shelomecha, baruch ata Adonai, haporei sukkah shalom. Aleinu al kol amo Yisrael, al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'al Yerushalayim. Please rise for the Shamru on page 51. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat v'dorotam Moshe's Modi Adonai El Ben Israel Yiskanda Shmei Rabba Madi Ben Achinu say Amlik Machu say Bechal Mageichonu Yom Nechon Unchayne Kol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Umizman Kori V'yemerot Yehesh Merabba V'chora Olam Yalemayo Yismo
Yitbarach v'yishtabach Yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitala Shmei t'kudshah Leila min kol birchata v'shirata
Tushmecha Sanechem Os Traditional Amidah can be found on page 55 and 56 with the insert for Chol HaMoed Pesach as well in the Yalev Yavo. Other alternatives for our silence or words together can be found before that or in your own words. Tzar Karatia, Anani, Bamechavia, Amin, Amen. Tzar Karatia, Anani, Bamechavia. Adonai li lo ira, ma yaseh yaseni adam. Adonai li lo ira, ma yaseh adam. Ay la dai, da da dai, da da dai. Da 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 da. Ay da 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 da. Da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ay da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Oh my my my, ya da da, ya da da, ya da da da, ya da da da, ya da da da. Some of you might be familiar with the Hasidic story. Lots of different people are credited with this story or this teaching, where one Rebbe said one should always have two little notes in their, in their pockets, one in each side to remind them of their greatness and one to remind them of their humility, right? People heard that teaching before? Two little notes, shtei pitkaot, the two pitkaot. I feel personally of two notes myself these days, two different mindsets. On the one hand, I look around at this moment of Jewish fragmentation and pain. I look around at this moment of division and discord, and I feel at times extremely clear and very secure in myself about what I think should be the response to those within our community who I think are endangering our community or being naive about the risks and the dangers that we're facing. And then there are moments, of course, when I'm in the other note, the other story, which is a very different valence, a valence of not a lack of security, but a lack of assurance about how exactly to respond to that phenomena, that reality. It makes it very difficult to give advice when people come and ask exactly for some sage advice on how to work with a friend, a family member, whom we at this moment feel is on the other side of some division within our community. And last night at the Seder at the 92nd Street Y with Romemu and those present, I shared my own take on this year's 4 children. And the one, of course, that gets all of us, the one that's most difficult for us to hear is the Rasha, the so-called evil child, wicked child, depending on how you... Rasha has an ethical and moral valence to it, not wisdom, which is the first child is wisdom, the second child, or the antithesis of that should have been ignorance, but instead it's rishut, evil, which has a valence to it. And certainly, the rabbis in the Haggadah, when they introduced these 4 children, these 4 archetypes, they're very, very sharp in the response to the Rasha, to the wicked son. And one of those responses, of course, the response is when that son will ask you, what are these things to you? And the rabbis say that you should respond by giving the person a whack in the teeth or to dull their teeth and say, if you had been there, ilu haya sham lo haya nigal, you would not have been redeemed. And that thought's not such a great thought to have. And it's painful. It's a painful part of the Haggadah. So when we look at other people and we say to ourselves, you know, that person, you wouldn't have been worthy of redemption. You would have been left behind. Or you should have been left behind. I get it, and I also struggle and wrestle with it. And I came across this teaching this afternoon from the Bnei Sasra, from the Dinover Rebbe, who started the Munkach dynasty from the 19th century in Eastern Europe. The Bnei Sasra wrote something amazing. I want to share it with you. Not because it's an answer, but it's beautiful. It's a window into something beautiful. He writes, when the Haggadah quotes the question of the wicked child, V'haya ki yish'alcha, V'haya, when it will take place. The Munkach Rebbe, the Rebbe of the Bnei Sasra asks, we know in the rabbinic literature that word V'haya, and it will be, V'haya, and it will be, the Midrash says that that's a lashon simcha. It has a valence of joy and celebration. And it will be when your child will ask you. But wait a second, the Rebbe asks, if that rabbinic dictum is true, that the word V'haya, and it will be, is joyous, we go there, right? Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but just go there with me. He says, if that's the case, then what kind of joy is the joy that is the word that leads into the story of this child who's going to be asking a question that distances themselves from the community? What kind of simcha is that? My child's going to walk away. That's not a happy occasion. So the Dinover Rebbe says, what is that? What could possibly be joyful about that? His answer, though not obvious, is very powerful. When we say about the wicked child, if he had been there, he would not have been redeemed. Ilu haya sham lo haya nigal. That sentence in the Haggadah is a couple of lines before another sentence which contradicts it. Lo et avotenu, says the Haggadah. It's not just our ancestors who were redeemed, but et kulanu, who are here. We were all redeemed. So which one is it? Is the evil child not redeemed, and had he been there, he would not have been redeemed? Or is he part of the all that the Haggadah is saying? All of us were redeemed, not just our ancestors, all of us here today, including you. And the answer, he says, is both are true. If that person had been there exactly as he is now, closed and disconnected and cynical, then no, they wouldn't have been ready to be redeemed. But the person sitting here, says the Dinover Rebbe, was redeemed. The person sitting here is redeemed. What's the proof? He's sitting here. Which must mean, says the Dinover Rebbe, God is not only looking at who that person is right now, but God is looking at who they are becoming. At the part of the story that isn't visible yet. And that possibility, says the Dinover Rebbe, that's the hopeful part. I skipped a little piece here. You might be thinking, hopefully you're tracking with me, but there's a little piece I should add. The Rebbe was even more confused, not only by the joy of Vayehi, V'haya, and it will be, but there's another Midrash that says, what is the most joyous part? He actually names the Midrash. It says, the joy was that one day you will have children in the future. And the Rebbe said, was there even a thought in the Bible or amongst the rabbis that the only thing joyous about being able to talk to your child was the fact that you had a child? Did the whole Bible not assume that one day we would have future generations? So he builds this whole beautiful midrash based on those two things not going together. The joy of having a child means it's not just the joy that you would one day have a child, but that one day a child, that the joy of one day having children is the joy that the reality that you are currently in is not the end of the story. And in this, the Rebbe is speaking to a completely different thread in our tradition, a whole other lineage. There are other echoes of this teaching. The Gemara, the Talmud, the core rabbinic text of our tradition says something very simple. Yisrael shechata, Yisrael hu. That even when a person falls and fails and commits a sin, there's still Yisrael, they're still a part of the community. And that seems obvious to us, but it's not. Because we live at a time where we cancel people and we kick them out. We reduce people to one moment, and that one moment lives with them forever, to a behavior, to a version of themselves. Brian Stevenson said, amazing renegade for equal justice, he wrote, "We are better than our worst moment." Even our worst moment. A person is bigger than the worst version of themselves is straight out of the Talmud. Thank you, Brian Stevenson. And we can go even a step further, being that we're a kind of mystical, spiritual community, because we know that in the mystical tradition of Judaism, in the Zohar it says, "Leit atar panui minei." There is no place which is devoid of the divine presence of the Shekhinah. It means that even if a person feels far away, or shut down, or disconnected, there is still a kusta de chiyusa, there's still a little spark of holiness in them. It's hidden, hard to access, but it's not gone. Maimonides, even earlier than that, said, when a person truly changes, they're not just forgiven. They become a bria chadasha, they become an entirely new person. Not patched up or back to normal, they become different. Which means that redemption isn't about proving you were always fine. It's about the possibility that you are not finished. That's what redemption means. You're not finished. So maybe... Oh, nice. Is there a parade now? It's a parade, yeah, it's a parade every year. You guys know every year. Why don't we ever get this on our calendar? Every single year, there's this amazing parade up Amsterdam Avenue in honor of the saint. I forgot, who's the saint? It's an amazing thing.
Mexican saint.
Oh, it's Good Friday, but it is Good Friday, that's true. It's Good Friday, and we know that because there's a parade every Good Friday.
Let's try to remember.
Let's remember that next year. It's okay. We'll try to time the sermon 10 minutes before the parade starts. Okay. We'll have somebody on Amsterdam going, "It's coming, hurry up, hurry up." Okay. Thank you for that. I'm pretty much done. And then the only thing I'll say is, the Haggadah is not naive. The Haggadah is not naive. Just to be absolutely clear about this sermon tonight, the Haggadah pushes back. It doesn't embrace that voice, but it includes it in the Haggadah. That voice is in the Haggadah. The voice of that child, that person, is in the Haggadah. And there's a very intense pushback. Ideas, attitudes, ways of being that are not acceptable. That's absolutely clear. That's clear to all of us. It doesn't have to just be around Israel or not. We have lines everywhere within our community, and such is how it rolls and how it should be. But we have to believe in someone else's future. To believe in somebody else's future means not pretending that the present isn't the present, but it means holding out the possibility that the story for them and for us is not over. That's the deepest part of the Haggadah, the deepest part of our tradition. It's something that I believe deeply in my kishkes, in my bones, and everything about me is I don't believe that we're finished. And that's one of the more beautiful things about the pain of the Torah. The Torah feels linear, but when we begin it again, we're saying it's not finished. It's a circle. It's not over. When I think about Yosef in the Torah, his brothers look at him and they say, "We know who you are." And Joseph says, "No, I know who I'm going to be." They say, "No, we know who you are." He says, "No, I know who I'm going to be." And then years later, Joseph looks back and says, "You thought you knew the whole story, but I knew there was more to my story." And so I think that this is something, a Torah that the B'nai Saskar came right into my heart this year. It doesn't mean that the other part of me won't come roaring back at some point. When I see some members of our community who are willing to compromise on Jewish self-dignity and Jewish peoplehood in certain ways, it really hurts. It hurts me so much, but I refuse, even in those moments, I refuse to give up on them. And I refuse to give up on the possibility that in those people within our community who are now, we feel at a distance, that their story is finished. I don't believe it. And so I want to ask that to myself, in what ways have I already thought that my own story is finished? In what ways have I given up on myself and have not assumed that I could also become something more than what I am today? Don't tell the matzah that it really isn't bread. It can one day become bread. It looks like bread right now, but one more minute. That's B'nai Yissaschar from all the way from the Ukraine into our hearts this Shabbos. Chol Hamoed Pesach, 5786. If the Torah fits, wear it. Please rise. Bruchim to you. We're on page 79 for the Aleinu, everybody, followed by Mourner's Kaddish and the counting of the Omer tonight on page 78. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו תאם, וגור עלינו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא שנות השמיים יוצר. השבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, ונאמר, והיה למלך על כל הארץ ביום יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Please remain standing if you are remembering a loved one this Shabbos. And as we move around the room, I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to say the name of your loved one or loved ones. We'll start on this side of the room. Barbara. Okay, anyone behind? I can't see you. It's anyone who didn't say the name, just say their name. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you. Okay, yes. Okay. For those of you who have the custom to stand for the mourners, please rise. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 115 and 116. Please, everybody, whether you're standing or sitting, you're still supporting by responding appropriately. So, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ויאמר דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון ויומכון, וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ימי עמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. יסדר ויסעלה ויסעלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לילה מכל ברכסה ושירסה, תוש ברכסה ונחמסה, דאמירם ואומה ואמרו. יש שלום רבה משמעיה וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ואמרו amen. Yehi Zichron Baruch. We invite everybody to please rise and turn in your Sidurim to the counting of the Omer. It's a little bit early.
103.
103. 49 days until Shavuos. 48 days. Yeah? It's nice to count up to something. So L'Shem Yichud Kucha Brichu, this beautiful Kabbalistic mystical incantation really means to, for the sake of the universal polarities, that they might be united. The masculine, the feminine, the right, the left, all of that united, aligned, supportive of this mitzvah, of this connection point. L'Shem Yichud. L'Shem Yichud Kucha Brichu Shkritei הנני מוכן ומזומן לקיים
מצוות העשה
של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, לה 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 לה, יה לה 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 לה, יה לה 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 יה לה לה, יה לה לה Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al siratcha omer. Okay, everybody. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu
al siratcha omer.
היום 2 ימים לעומר. היום 2 ימים. היום 2 ימים לעומר, 2 ימים בעומר. ידה די 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 A little firmness within love. Page 87 and 88, Kiddush. וירא אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד ויהיה ויבוקר יום השישי. ויחולו השמיים והארץ, וכל צבאם. ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה. וישבות ביום השביעי, we can do that a cappella, it's okay, you don't have to look so hard. וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי יבוא שבס מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות סביב. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קדושנו מצוות עבודת צוונו בשבת קודשו ויבוא רצון הנחילנו זיכרון מעשה ונשיס כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר
יציאת מצרים
כיוונו בחרתם ואותנו
קידשת
מכל העמים משבת קודשך יעבר ורצון מנחתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Shabbos everybody, Chag Sameach, Moadin L'Simcha, Good Shabbos. Moshe Shalom Imroma, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu,
Ve'al kol Yisrael,
1 second. Quick announcement, everybody. Quick announcement. Sorry. Shh. Quick announcement before we go. Tomorrow morning, 9:30. No open book tomorrow morning, 9:30 is services. Also, for everybody to know, the Yizkor is next Thursday. Yizkor is next Thursday. And tomorrow also Shir HaShurim as well. If you're here for the first time and nobody came over to say hello to you, somebody who's not been here for the first time, come over and say hello to people. First timers, good Shabbos, everybody. Chag Sameach.